Okay, so I do a lot of thinking about how people think to learn how different people come to the conclusions that they come to. And I thought I might do a little thing on social engineering, so you can see how good my social engineering skills are. I see a lot of spin doctors, and essentially I'll be a spin doctor. So the subject that seems to be concerning me is this character called Santa Claus. Now, you know, as a spin doctor, I believe that he's a very dangerous figure. Here we are, you know, freely letting him roam around the Western world, and yet all the Muslim nations have banned him. You know, and the inaction of our government not to ban this person from doing what he does, when so many other governments have, is just appalling. I mean, quite frankly, he breaks international boundary laws once a year, you know, dramatically just turns against all the visa permits, everything like that. He's a foreign national coming into a country with no permits or visas or any of the paperwork required. He doesn't go through customs to check if any of the goods he's bringing in are dangerous. He doesn't even go through any sort of quarantine procedures or any sort of biosecurity procedures. He could be carrying bugs into a country. And the biggest concern of all is, quite simply, I believe he's a pedophile that goes around grooming kids without the knowledge of their parents by giving them gifts, as you know, as a form of trying to groom them for the purposes of molesting them. And you know, you got to think about this bloke really seriously. There's quite a bit of credibility in that, because he's based off St. Nicholas, who used to do the exact same thing, who happened to be a Catholic saint. Now, we all know what the Catholic Church has been involved in lately. So this character has based himself off of somebody else from the Catholic Church who was doing similar things as many other priests have been caught doing, which is messing with kids. And the other thing that is very obvious in regards to the fact that his activities are, you know, illegal and sort of very dodgy, is that he makes a point of living outside of any areas where authorities can arrest him. He lives in an area where essentially it's ungoverned. It's very hard for any sort of special forces or anything to get to him because of the position he's in, you know, the position in which he resides, which is, you know, quite simply a safe haven to carry out what he does and then return there with immunity from any sort of law of any kind. And he lives there purely as an attempt, you know, to avoid running into the hands of justice. So, you know, and there's other concerns that have been raised by the fact that he doesn't have any proper lighting as is required on these, you know, flying devices, and he's got no radio with which to make contact. And there's quite a possibility he will cause some kind of air disaster at one point or another, and it's only a miracle that he hasn't caused some sort of a air disaster causing a jumbo jet to go down already. The other thing is, you know, it's so obvious he's a pedophile, because when you look at it all, this bloke can't hold himself back from yelling out "ho" when a 6-year-old girl walks past. I mean, not only, he can't even, you know, just say it once, he can't help himself, he's got to say it 3 times. He's got to say at least "ho, ho, ho" 3 times to any, you know, young girls, and he even does it to young boys as well. And, you know, the fact that he gets so jolly about kids sitting on his knee, I mean, there's no denying in my mind that this bloke is quite obviously a dangerous pedophile, but he holds some sort of an aura over the parents in which they allow him to continue to perform these sort of things against his children, against their children rather. And, you know, he's got obvious health problems with the guts he's got on him and whatnot, and you know, he's sort of living up there in seclusion. He has slave workers who are also little people, so he spends the other 364 days of the year surrounded by little people. You know, he can't flame and leave them alone. He's got to actually live with quite a few thousand of these little people, as he calls them, which we believe may be minors that are forced to wear sort of, you know, strange shoes and little pointy hats, and you know, he's even got some of them that he's whacked beards on and things like that, probably due to some sort of a hormonal manipulation that he's doing with them. They, you know, grow beards. He calls them elves, but basically they're miners using slave sweatshops to produce toys for the purpose of grooming more kids, giving them to more kids to groom even more kids. And I mean, it's not enough that he lives with several thousand of these miners, which he refers to as elves. That's not enough. He's got to go around the entire world to try and groom other kids. And so quite simply, you know, there's got to be some form of international action or something to bring this person down, and expose him for what he really is to these naive parents who just continue to allow him to, you know, groom their children. So, yeah, you know, it's a very strange and bizarre concept that this man is still allowed to operate in so many countries, even though Muslim nations and nations who don't hold human rights dear, even they have realised that he's such a threat, and they've banned him in their countries with, you know, some success, with quite a bit of success. But if they don't really care, you know, look at Iran, they've banned him in their country. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm quite certain they would at least have tried to, and no doubt they've had success with that. And quite simply, if Iran is willing to ban someone of this seedy nature, this much of a seedy nature, then it's implorable that the West hasn't done the same yet. So, yeah, that's my segment on Santa and why he's so evil.